My name is Wytse Kaastra. I'm a managing director at Accenture, a technology and digital company, and I'm leading our utilities and energy transition business across Europe. And today I have the pleasure to present our report on the electric decade that we have developed in close collaboration with Eurelectric. So the electric decade is a very important topic for the primary reason that we are in the midst of the energy transition that will massively transform the European economy over the next 9 to 10 years. And although everybody's reading the newspapers and is well aware of it, I think we are truly in a massive disruptive phase of our society at the moment. Every business is becoming a digital business, and now on top of that, every business is becoming a sustainable business. So we have this perfect storm where two massive transformations in parallel are driving the change of our economy towards an electrified and decarbonized economy. So let's drill a little bit deeper on that notion. I mean, in the past, we had many transitions of the power system, moving from coal to gas, the rise of LNG, the rise of shale gas. We have seen that. But most of the time, it was really supply-driven, driven out of technology, and there was not really, I would say, a very strict time constraint on it. But now we are moving into a net zero transition, which will be primarily driven by electrification of our economy and of our societies. And the big difference between the transition of today with the previous transitions is that this one will be demand-driven. So the adoption of residential customers and of industrial customers will be mission critical for the success of this transition. And the second one is that as a result, it's not only one energy intensive industry dictating the pace of this energy transition. No, it's every industry. So it's going across multiple industries, especially the heavy energy industries, but many stakeholders will be involved, not in the last place, of course, the regulators and the governments together with the industry. So the collaboration across industry and across stakeholders will be more important than ever. And finally, probably the most important one is time constraint. In the European Union has set very clear goals for 2030, and that's in 8.5 years from now. And everybody knows in the industry that 8.5 years is close to nothing with the lead times we have in the energy industry. So with that, I think it's going to be one of the biggest changes in the infrastructure that we have seen after World War II. And electrification is really at the heart of this energy transition. So with that, the role of the traditional utilities is also shifting. And although people still talk about utilities, I think we are evolving much more towards tech, energy, service companies, where E becomes the new I. So we were used to have everything around internet, iPhones, iPads, etc. And now it's around electrical industries. So e-transportation, e-industries, e-heating, e-cities. Electrification of many parts of our society will be the agenda of the next 8.5 years of the electric decade. So just to put it a little bit in terms of numbers, if we go for a 95% emission reduction by 2050, that means that 63% of the energy consumption of buildings will be electrified. Also 63% of transportation will be electrified. So, I mean, we just start to see the move of e-mobility, but this is just the starting point, and much more will be electrified. But also the industries, expectations is that more than 50% of the energy consumption of industries, of heavy industries, will be electrified. And think also there about the green hydrogen, which is indirect electrification. And you produce it with electricity, you produce green hydrogen that then you can adopt in industries, but also think about aviations or heavy transportation or marine. So direct electrification and indirect electrification will drive the energy transition and the CO2 reductions. And the good news, it's not only a cost. I think if we do it properly as a society, as a European industry, we will create new jobs. We will create 107 billion of energy improvements, and also we will create health benefits with also monetary results as a consequence of it. So what's needed to empower the electric decade? I mean, I think a lot has been put in place. The industry is committed. The technologies are available. Sometimes they're still too expensive, but we can expect cost reductions like we have seen in wind and solar. We can expect that to see happening that as well for batteries, for e-mobility, but also for green hydrogen. So all the building places are in place. I think the Green Deal from the European Union and the recovery plans are also providing the right incentive structure to really, I would say, double down on this agenda. But we believe there are two key things that we need to work on collectively to make this transformation a reality. And first of all, is shaping the demand. Our industry, the utility industry, is fully committed and on board. But now we need to shape the demand on the transportation side, on the chemical side, on the aviation side, and make sure that we create these markets, these smart markets, collaborating together, where the utility industry is providing the electricity and the green hydrogen, and the demand side is adopting those technologies. And it's about scaling at speed. Again, we have hard deadlines in 2030 and later in 2050. So we can't take the next 100 years to make this transformation. We need to accelerate massively. And in order to do that, we believe there are two key enablers. Next, I would say the traditional technologies, which of course are the foundation, electrolyzers, batteries, wind farms, solar panels. That's fully logical. That's the key objective to have those technologies in place. But on top of that, it's around adopting digital and data to empower collaboration, optimization, finding new business models, creating the customer engagement, creating the connections, creating the smart markets that will enable this system is mission critical. And the second big enabler is obviously, it's a no-brainer, but it's the most difficult one most of the time, is having the right talent, having the right people with this engineering and digital skill set. And the combination is probably the most powerful. So we believe that that's the agenda really to enable this digital and electric decade, and where much of the focus needs to be focused on to realize the change. So let's deep dive a little bit on these different topics. Shaping demand, the net zero customer. So this is more the residential side. And the statistics are positive. More than 50% of residential customers are likely to invest in energy efficiency. This was already before the pandemic, so now we can expect even more after the pandemic. So I would say the mindsets, the hearts and minds of residential customers are ready to adopt if the right value propositions at the right quality and price points are available. And perhaps a little bit of a deep dive in that one. We believe as Accenture that the whole as a service business models, where you have rental and leasing concepts, and where you provide financing structures around all these new solutions, whether it's an electrical car or charging or heat pumps or solar panels, the whole leasing and rental will facilitate the adoption. And also there, it's not only about putting money in it, it's actually a business model that can generate an additional 8 billion euro of profits in some key European markets, just as a small data point. Moving to the industrial clusters, that's a very important notion, especially when you think about decarbonizing heavy industries like steel, chemicals, fertilizers. The bringing together supply and demand in a geographical space in an industrial cluster can be extremely powerful, because that will allow easy communication, very short supply chains, collaboration on the supply side and on the demand side, potentially supported by local governments or regulators that facilitate that collaboration. So we believe that industrial clusters will be at the heart of this energy transition on the industrial side, and will really help to accelerate and scale at speed. And first of all, the low-hanging fruit is clearly that we believe that 15% is already possible just by being more efficient and more circular in this energy in these industrial clusters. But above that, an additional 40% of greenhouse emissions can be reduced by electrification of the way the energy system in these industrial clusters work. Scaling at speed, again, as said earlier, it's really about combining the digital capabilities and the digital assets and innovating around that. And 77% of the executive state that their digital technology architecture is becoming very critical to the overall success. So again, of course, it's around the core technologies like solar, wind, batteries, green hydrogen that needs to be in place. But the winners of tomorrow will be those that are able to leverage digital and data to accelerate and build these business models, these collaboration models, and really pull the value out of the new energy system of the future, and will be able to scale. And because we see a lot of pilots, a lot of ideas, lots of proof of concepts, that's all fantastic. But the proof of the pudding will be in the scaling at speed. Without scale, there will be nothing. So the ones that have that right, powered by digital and data, will be the winners of tomorrow. So digital and data, I mentioned it several times already, but I can't emphasize enough how important it is that just on the maintenance, already a 5% can quite easily be realized by operating in a more efficient way the current assets. But on top of that, the scaling and the value can also be driven by adopting these new technologies. But only 33% of executives in the utility area are actually able to capture the value out of it. So there is a lot of room for improvement in terms of adopting these type of technologies in a way that drives the value for the industry. And as a final note, power to the people. I mean, it's an open door, but it's the most important open door ever. That having the right talent is key for this, and because you can have a very strong strategy, and the PowerPoint and the spreadsheets are very easy to adapt, but at the end of the day, it's all about execution, and execution is all about the people. And it's more important to have the right people on the bus to make the transition than to have all kind of highly thought through plans, but no people to execute on it. So 70% of the top 10 emerging jobs in the energy and utility space will require deep digital experience together with engineering skills. So keep in mind, digital and engineering is the secret sauce that the energy industry needs. And just as an additional data point, in the UK, almost half of the utility workforce will be new recruits or staff that needs to be retrained. So it's not only an energy transition and an energy transition transformation, it's also people transformation, and a very key area to invest in. So with that, I come at the end of the report. You can download the report on the Eurelectric website and also on the Accenture.com website, or contact me directly for anything you would like to need to know about this report. But the electric decade is in an extraordinary time requiring extraordinary action. And I think we are looking at a fantastic challenge ahead and a lot of work that needs to be done. With that, I finish here and I wish you a good day. Thank you.